In 1916, a British knight was hanged for treason. The prosecution's case rested on a single piece of punctuation, a comma. You would assume that a law capable of killing a man would be unambiguous, the kind of text you triple-check before you put a rope around someone's neck. But the British government did not hang Sir Roger Casement on spy photographs, intercepted telegrams, or a confession. It hung him on whether the word elsewhere in a 574-year-old statute applied to everything before it, or only to the last clause. Casement was not a cartoon villain. He had been knighted for exposing colonial atrocities in the Congo and Peru. Then, during World War I, he travelled to Germany, tried to recruit Irish prisoners of war into an armed brigade, and was landed by submarine on the coast of County Kerry. He was captured within hours. The facts were not in dispute. The only real question was whether an act committed entirely outside the king's realm could count as high treason under the Treason Act of 1351. That statute was written in Norman French, the legal language of medieval England, back when the Black Death was still a recent memory. The relevant clause said that a man is a traitor if he soit ayant as enemies nostasania le roi en son royaume, donnant us id ou confort en son dit royaume ou ailes. Translated, if he adheres to the king's enemies in his realm, giving them aid and comfort in his realm, or elsewhere. Notice the grammar. In his realm appears twice. Then, after a comma, or elsewhere. Casement's defense lawyer, George Gavin Duffy, seized on that comma. He argued that or elsewhere modified only the immediate preceding phrase, giving aid and comfort. So if you gave aid and comfort in the realm, you were a traitor wherever that aid ended up. But if you adhered to the king's enemies, that is, joined their cause, plotted alongside them, that act had to happen inside the realm. Casement had recruited prisoners in Germany, on foreign soil. According to the comma, that was not treason. The comma separated the crime of adhering in the realm from the crime of giving aid and comfort anywhere. It sounds like the sort of grammatical pedantry that makes people despise lawyers. And it was. But a man's neck was on the line. The prosecution took the opposite view. The comma was a modern printing error, they said. The original medieval parchment had no punctuation at all. No full stops, no commas, just a solid block of abbreviated Norman French. Therefore, or elsewhere was meant to qualify everything, adhering, aiding, comforting, anywhere, inside the realm or out. The intent of Parliament in 1351 was obvious: punish all traitors, no matter where they plotted. And the judge agreed. Lord Chief Justice Reading delivered a ruling that could double as a grammar lesson. He said, no comma divides the words in his realm or elsewhere from what precedes. Because the original statute had no punctuation, the court was free to read or elsewhere as spreading across the entire clause like linguistic butter. The comma was just an editorial convenience added by some 16th century printer who thought sentences should breathe. Casement was convicted. He was stripped of his knighthood. On August 3, 1916, he was hanged at Pentonville Prison. The newspapers of the day coined a phrase that has haunted legal textbooks ever since: hanged on a comma. Now, you might think this was just a desperate defense in a politically charged trial. The British government was determined to execute Casement regardless, and you would be right. But the legal mechanism they used was, and still is, utterly real. Our entire legal system rests on the assumption that words mean exactly what they say, and that a stray mark of punctuation can flip that meaning upside down. The Treason Act 1351 is still on the books in the United Kingdom. It has not been repealed. If, hypothetically, someone today adhered to the king's enemies in a foreign country, the courts would once again have to parse that same text. They would still argue about commas. Because we never learn. In 2017, dairy delivery drivers in the US state of Maine won a $5 million overtime lawsuit because of a missing Oxford comma. A state law listed activities exempt from overtime: the canning, processing, preserving, freezing, drying, marketing, storing, packing for shipment or distribution of certain foods. No comma after shipment. The court ruled that packing for shipment or distribution was one unified activity, not two. Drivers who only distributed goods, without packing them, did not qualify for the exemption. One missing comma cost a company millions. It is the modern, less lethal cousin of Casement's trial. But the real twist, the layer that makes all of this even dumber, is that the comma that hanged Sir Roger Casement almost certainly was never supposed to exist. The original 1351 Parliament rolls contain no punctuation. None. The statute was a continuous string of words designed to be read aloud in a courtroom, not paused silently on a printed page. The fatal comma was introduced centuries later by legal publishers who wanted tidy-looking sentences. They inserted a breath where none was required. And that typographical choice, made by some anonymous Tudor editor trying to make the statute book look nicer, became a matter of life and death. Sir Roger Casement did not die because of a comma. He died because a 16th century printer liked neat syntax. So the next time you skip a comma in a text message, remember, you are not being lazy. You are upholding an ancient legal tradition. One that, admittedly, killed a guy. But still,